Nina Parker woke up on graduation day and didn't recognize the person in the mirror. Graduating with honors from Columbia. A dream job lined up at one of New York's most prestigious architecture firms. A perfect future mapped out since she was 15. So why did she have a panic attack locked inside the bathroom on her very first day? Because Nina had just realized something terrifying. Every step she'd taken, every choice she'd made, every dream she'd chased, none of them were actually hers. And now, at 24, Nina was facing the most frightening decision of her life: keep living on autopilot, following a script she never wrote, or find the courage to start from scratch. Welcome to Lost Stories and Lyrics, the place where stories come to life and inspire transformation. Nina Parker woke up on graduation day the same way she did every morning, at exactly 6:30, to the soft classical music her mother insisted on because it was proper and elegant. She got up, made her bed with perfect corners, a habit her mother had drilled into her since childhood, and headed to the shower. Every movement was precise, rehearsed, part of a routine she had followed for years without ever questioning it. At 24, Nina was about to graduate from Columbia University with honors in architecture. Her thesis on sustainable design had earned praise from her professors. She already had a guaranteed position at Harrison & Wells, one of New York City's most prestigious architecture firms, starting the following Monday with a salary any new graduate would envy. On the outside, Nina Parker was the perfect picture of success. She had followed every step of the plan her parents had created when she was 15, the right prep school, flawless grades, the appropriate extracurriculars, glowing recommendations from influential professors, internships in all the right places. Nothing had been left to chance. Every decision had been carefully calculated to lead her exactly to this moment. "Are you nervous?" her roommate Melissa asked as they got ready for the ceremony. "A little," Nina said, adjusting her cap in the mirror. It was a lie. She wasn't nervous. She was numb. As if watching her own life through fogged glass. "I can't believe it's over," Melissa said, buzzing with excitement. "For years. And now real life starts. You must be so excited about Harrison & Wells. I would die for an opportunity like that." Nina forced a smile. "Yeah, it's a great opportunity." But as she spoke, her chest tightened. A strange feeling she had been ignoring for months, maybe years. The sense that she was following a script written by someone else, speaking lines that weren't hers. The graduation ceremony was everything it was supposed to be: solemn, inspiring, full of speeches about bright futures and changing the world. Nina sat among hundreds of other graduates, all dressed in black, all seemingly certain of their next steps. The dean talked about writing your own stories and building the future you imagine. But Nina couldn't imagine her future. Not really. Every time she tried, she saw the same predetermined sequence: start at Harrison & Wells, work hard, make partner in 10 years, marry someone appropriate, probably another architect or engineer, buy a condo on the Upper West Side, have 2 kids. A future perfectly acceptable, perfectly planned. And completely empty of anything she had actually chosen. When her name was called, Nina walked across the stage, shook the dean's hand, accepted her diploma, and smiled for the cameras. Her parents sat in the audience. She could see her mother, Catherine, eyes shining with pride, and her father, Robert, recording everything on his phone. They had sacrificed so much to get her there. They had invested not just money but hopes, dreams, expectations. The diploma felt much heavier in her hands than it should have. After the ceremony, the Parkers went to the same French restaurant where they had celebrated every major milestone of Nina's life: her acceptance into prep school, her admission to Columbia, every academic award. White tablecloths, quiet waiters, everything pristine and proper. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," her mother said, raising her champagne flute. "Everything we worked for, everything we planned, it all turned out perfectly." To Nina, her father toasted. "Our architect. Following all the right steps." Nina lifted her glass and drank, the champagne bitter on her tongue. The right steps. The words echoed in her mind. But whose steps? For whom? "So Monday you start at Harrison and Wells," her father said, slicing his steak with surgical precision. "I spoke with Richard Harrison yesterday. He's very impressed with you. Says you have a brilliant future there." "That's great," Nina murmured. "And you know," her mother added, lowering her voice conspiratorially, "his son, Christopher, works there too. He's single, your age, very successful. You two would be perfect." Something inside Nina began to crack. Like thin ice over deep water, tiny fissures forming beneath the surface. "Mom, I haven't even started the job yet." "I know, darling. I'm just saying you should stay open. Life is all about the right connections, the right relationships. We've always known that." That night, alone in her bedroom, Nina looked around the apartment she had shared with Melissa for 2 years. The walls were decorated with posters of famous buildings: the Guggenheim, Fallingwater, the Sydney Opera House. Beautiful, impressive. But as she looked at them now, Nina realized something. She hadn't chosen a single one. Melissa had bought them, and Nina had simply agreed because it seemed appropriate for architecture students. She opened her laptop and looked through her college projects. Clean lines, functional layouts, technically perfect designs. All highly praised. But something was missing, something she couldn't name. Soul, maybe. Passion. A voice of her own. She closed the laptop and lay on her back, staring at the ceiling. On Sunday she'd move back into her parents' house for a few weeks before finding her own apartment. Monday she'd start her job. And then, the rest of her life would unfold exactly as planned. The tightness in her chest returned, stronger this time. She pressed a hand to her heart and realized she was breathing too fast. Way too fast. The room tilted slightly. She sat up, trying to steady her breathing. What's happening to me? The weekend passed in a blur of packing and preparation. By Sunday night, Nina was back in her old bedroom in her parents' Westchester home. The room was exactly how she had left it when she left for college: neutral beige walls, dark wood furniture, everything organized and devoid of personality. Monday arrived with a clear, promising sunrise. Nina got dressed in the new charcoal gray suit her mother insisted she buy: conservative, professional. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a stranger staring back. A woman who looked put together, but whose eyes felt empty. The train ride into the city was silent. Nina watched the other commuters, some reading, some sleeping, some scrolling their phones with blank expressions. All headed to places they were supposed to be, doing things they were supposed to do. The Harrison and Wells building was impressive, glass and steel, sleek and modern, in a prime Manhattan location. Nina stepped into the marble lobby, her heels echoing against the polished floor. The receptionist offered a polite smile and directed her to the elevators. On the 23rd floor, Nina was greeted by Jennifer, the HR manager. More paperwork, more orientation, more professional smiles. Everything perfectly orchestrated, exactly how it was supposed to be. "You're going to love working here," Jennifer said as she guided Nina through the office. "We have the best projects, the best clients, the best opportunities." The best, Nina thought. Everything always had to be the best, the most prestigious, the most impressive. But best for who? She was introduced to dozens of people whose names she instantly forgot. Everyone seemed competent, polished, busy. Everyone looked like they knew exactly what they were doing. Jennifer finally showed her to her workstation, a spotless desk in an open area filled with other spotless desks. Everything white, gray, minimalist. Efficient. Soulless. "You'll be starting with our residential design team," Jennifer explained. "High-end projects for very demanding clients. It's an incredible learning opportunity." Nina nodded, smiling automatically. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Her heart was racing again. Her hands began to shake. "Are you okay?" Jennifer asked, noticing the sudden paleness in Nina's face. Yes. I just need a moment." Nina walked quickly to the restroom, her legs unsteady. She stepped into a stall, closed the door, and sat on the toilet seat, head between her knees. She couldn't catch her breath. The world was spinning. It was a panic attack. Nina had read about them before but had never experienced one. Now, sitting in that pristine corporate bathroom, she understood. Her body was screaming what her mind had been whispering for years: "This is not what you want. This isn't your life. This isn't your story." But if this wasn't her story, then what was? Nina didn't know. She had never stopped to ask. Never been allowed to ask. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands. The lock screen showed a photo of her at graduation, smiling, holding her diploma. The image of perfect success. And she didn't recognize the person in the picture. Nina took a shaky breath. She had two choices. She could swallow the panic, walk back to that pristine white desk, and begin the life everyone expected her to live. Or she could face the terrifying truth pounding in her chest. She didn't know who she was. She didn't know what she wanted. And she couldn't spend the rest of her life pretending she did. Nina stayed in that restroom for 20 minutes, waiting for her heartbeat to slow. When she finally managed to stand, she splashed cold water on her face and stared at her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back had red eyes and smudged makeup. But for the first time in years, there was something real in her expression. Fear, yes. But also something that looked a lot like clarity. She walked out of the restroom and headed straight for Jennifer's office. "I need to leave," Nina said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm sorry, but I can't do this." Jennifer blinked, confused. "Are you feeling sick? You can go home, rest, and come back tomorrow." "No," Nina took a breath. "I'm not coming back tomorrow. I made a mistake. This isn't the right place for me." The words slipped out before she could censor them. And with them came something unexpected, not immediate relief, but the sense that she had taken her first real step towards something true. Nina left the building in a daze. She had just walked away from the dream job, or at least, someone's dream job. Her phone rang almost instantly. Her mother. Nina declined the call. She wasn't ready for that conversation. She wandered aimlessly through Manhattan, lost in her thoughts. Eventually, she found herself in a small park. She sat on a bench and, for the first time in a long time, simply stopped. No planning. No organizing. Just existed. An older woman sat beside her, tossing breadcrumbs to the pigeons. "You look like someone who just jumped off a cliff," the woman said without turning her head. "That's exactly how I feel," Nina admitted. "Jumping is the easy part," the woman replied. "The hard part is trusting that you'll learn how to fly on the way down. Or at least find somewhere safe to land." Those simple words clung to Nina. She had already jumped. Now she had to figure out how to fly. The next few days were brutal. The conversation with her parents was a disaster. "You threw away 4 years of education," her father yelled. "You embarrassed our family." Her mother cried, insisting Nina was having a breakdown and needed professional help. Maybe she did. But not the kind they meant. Nina moved into Melissa's apartment temporarily. No job, no plan, just a small amount of savings and a terrifying sense of freedom. She spent the first week in panic, wondering if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. But then, slowly, she started doing things differently. Small things. She woke up without an alarm and discovered she naturally woke around 8 a.m., not 6:30. She bought clothes she actually liked, bright colors her mother always called too loud. She wandered through New York neighborhoods she'd never explored, simply because she felt like it. Nina started drawing again, not technical architectural plans, but loose sketches. Cafes that inspired her. Interesting people. Buildings that spoke to her not through prestige but through personality. "What are you doing?" Melissa asked one evening, finding Nina surrounded by sketches. "I don't know," Nina said. "But for the first time, I'm doing something because I want to, not because someone told me I should." She took a temporary job at a coffee shop to pay the bills. It wasn't glamorous, and she could see the judgment in people's eyes when she mentioned she had a Columbia degree but worked serving lattes. But Nina was learning something important. Other people's opinions weighed less when you started discovering your own. Small wins followed. Nina redesigned the cafe's layout and the owner actually used her ideas. She began posting her sketches online, and a few people really connected with them. Not thousands of likes, but real, honest reactions from people who saw something genuine in her work. But there were failures too. A promising design job interview fell apart when they asked why she left Harrison and Wells, and she couldn't explain it in a way that made sense to them. There were nights when the fear returned, fear that she had thrown everything away for nothing. 3 months after leaving Harrison and Wells, Nina received an unexpected invitation, a call for submissions to a showcase for young artists and designers. It wasn't traditional architecture, it was creative design, functional art, projects that blended emotion and form. Nina stared at the sketches scattered around the apartment. They weren't perfect. They weren't the polished, technical work she had learned to produce at Columbia. But they were hers. Completely hers. She submitted her portfolio. 2 weeks later, she got the email, "Accepted." The night of the showcase arrived. Nina set up her small display with trembling hands. Her work looked so vulnerable out there, exposed for everyone to see. There was no prestigious firm behind her, no revered professor's approval. Just her and her voice, raw and honest. And then her parents walked in. Nina hadn't invited them. She hadn't really spoken to them since she left home. But there they were, standing at the entrance to her section, their expressions unreadable as they took in her work. "You came," Nina said, barely above a whisper. Her mother looked at the pieces, designs for community spaces, cozy cafes, small homes filled with personality instead of prestige. "This is different from what you did in college." "I know." Nina took a breath. This was the moment. The final test. "It's not the kind of architecture you imagined for me. It's not flashy or corporate or impressive. But it's mine. It's who I am." Her father stood quietly for a long moment, studying a sketch of a small community theater Nina had imagined. "Why didn't you ever tell us you wanted to do this?" "Because I didn't know I was allowed to want something different than what you wanted," Nina said, tears stinging her eyes. I spent so long following your plan that I forgot to figure out my own. We only wanted the best for you, her mother said softly. I know. But your best wasn't my best. And I needed to find the courage to learn that, even if it meant disappointing you. Her father stepped closer, gently touching one of the sketches. These are good, Nina. Different, but there's something real in them. It wasn't the total validation a part of her still longed for. But it was a beginning. And more importantly, Nina realized she no longer needed their approval in the same way. She had found something far more valuable, her own voice, her own vision, her own story. That night, as she watched people wander past her work, some stopping, some commenting, some simply observing, Nina understood something fundamental. She hadn't wasted her 4 years at Columbia. She had learned the tools. But only now was she learning how to use them to create something that mattered to her. Her life didn't magically transform that night. She still had bills to pay. She still battled doubts. She was still figuring out who she was. But for the first time, the blank pages of her future didn't terrify her. They excited her. Because now she knew the truth. Her story had never been carved in stone. It had always been written in pencil, ready to be erased and rewritten as many times as needed. And the hand holding the pencil was finally, authentically, her own. 6 months after the exhibition, Nina was sitting in the small studio she shared with 2 other independent designers. It wasn't Harrison and Wells. The place was modest, with exposed brick walls and second-hand furniture they'd restored themselves. But it had something that the corporate office never did: soul. Personality. A sense of belonging. Nina wasn't rich. Some months were tight, and there were moments when doubt whispered that she should have stayed on the safe path. But then she'd look at the project spread across her desk: a community center for an underserved neighborhood, the renovation of a children's library, a cafe that wanted to be more than a spot to grab a latte but a space for connection, and she remembered why she chose this. Nina. Melissa appeared in the doorway, smiling. Someone's here to see you. Nina looked up, and her heart skipped. It was her mother. Alone, without her father, holding a paper bag. Hi, Mom. Nina stood, unsure. Hi, sweetheart. Catherine glanced around the small studio, noticing the sketches pinned to the walls, the plants on the windowsills, the organized creative chaos. I brought lunch. I thought, maybe we could talk. They sat in a little corner area Nina and her colleagues had set up, comfortable chairs around a small coffee table. Catherine unpacked homemade food, something she hadn't done in years. Your father and I have been talking a lot, Catherine began, fiddling with the napkin. About you. About us. About everything. She paused, choosing her words. I realized something. We spent so much time trying to protect you from making mistakes that we never let you make your own choices. Nina felt tears sting. You just wanted what was best for me. We wanted what we thought was best, Catherine corrected gently. But we never asked what you thought was best. She took Nina's hand. And I'm sorry for that. For not listening. For not seeing who you really were. I didn't know who I was either, Nina admitted. I was so busy being who you needed me to be. And now? Catherine asked softly. Who are you now? Nina glanced around, at her drawings, at the space she helped build, at the life she was shaping brick by brick, choice by choice. I'm still figuring it out. But for the first time, I'm figuring it out for myself. Catherine nodded, tears in her own eyes. I saw the photos of your projects online. The community center you're designing. It's It's beautiful, Nina. It's not what I imagined for you, but I can see you in it. The real you. Those words meant more than Nina expected. Not because she needed her mother's approval, but because they represented a bridge being rebuilt. A relationship being redesigned based on truth instead of expectation. Weeks later, Nina received an unexpected email. It was from a former classmate from Columbia, Jessica, someone she barely knew. "I saw your work online," the email said. "Especially the community center project. I graduated with you, took the right job, and I'm completely miserable. How did you find the courage to change? I need advice." Nina stared at the email for a long time. Then she began typing. It wasn't courage at first, she wrote. It was desperation. It was my body screaming that I couldn't keep living someone else's life. But if I could go back and give advice to myself that day in the bathroom at Harrison and Wells, I'd say this: you don't need to have all the answers before you start. You don't need to know exactly who you are or what you want. You just need to be honest about who you're not and what you don't want. The rest you figure out along the way. She kept typing, the words flowing with the honesty she wouldn't have had months earlier. It's going to be scary. You'll have days you doubt yourself. People will question your choices. Your family may be disappointed. You might lose things you once thought mattered. But I promise, you'll gain something far more valuable. You'll gain yourself. Nina hit send and leaned back in her chair. She thought about all the versions of herself she'd been: the obedient girl, the perfect student, the daughter who never questioned, the young professional who nearly lost herself completely. And she thought about the person she was becoming, still imperfect, still learning, but finally, genuinely herself. Her phone rang. It was her father, something rare. "Hello? Nina, I've been thinking," Robert's voice came through the line. Would you like to have dinner with us on Sunday? No pressure, no judgment. Just family." Nina smiled, tears suddenly filling her eyes. "I'd love that, Dad." That night, Nina opened a new notebook, not for work, but for herself. On the first page, she wrote, "My story didn't begin the day I found the courage to leave. It began the day I admitted that the life I was living wasn't mine. And it continues every day I choose to write my own next line, even when I don't know where it will lead. Because life isn't about having a perfect plan. It's about having the courage to change the plan when it no longer fits. It's about understanding that blank pages aren't scary, they're opportunities. And you don't have to fill them all at once. One word at a time. One choice at a time. One truth at a time. My story is still being written. And finally, beautifully, the pen is in my hand." Nina closed the notebook and looked out the window at the city that never sleeps. Somewhere out there, people just like her were living lives they didn't choose, following scripts written by others, afraid to admit they were lost. And maybe, just maybe, her story could help them find the courage to begin writing their own. Because in the end, this was the most important truth Nina had learned: you don't have to wait for permission to live your own life. You don't have to wait to feel ready, or have all the answers, or know exactly where you're going. You just need the courage to pick up the pen and begin to write. Enjoyed the video? Smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome stories.